Another Ableton tutorial. I'm Tim Thompson. Let's get straight to it. Today we're going to be showing you how to import one of the guitar and bass tracks, just a drumless track that I've sent you, into your Ableton so that you can record your drumming over top. So here's how we're going to do it. You're going to open up a new Ableton Live set, and you should have already saved your preset live set so that it already opens with all of your 8 channels or 7 channels that you'll need for each one of your drums, their drum mics. So those should already be set. So yours will look a little bit different than me. The next step that we're going to do is go up here to the top left in this corner, and that's your BPM. So we're just going to click that, and it is editable. It just doesn't look like it is. So once you've clicked it, then just type in the BPM. In this case, we're going to type in 137 and hit enter. And now we've got 137. So that just changed a couple of things down there. We're going to keep the time signature to 4/4 time. And then we're going to import the track. Now on Mac, I would imagine it's the same on Windows, that you can go to a Finder window or Explorer window or something like that and just drag and drop the file right into Ableton Live. If it doesn't do that, then I think that there is another way inside of Live to import an insert audio track. I think it's like that. I'm pretty sure it's drag and drop. I've never done it any other way. I suppose the other way would be that you would find it inside of this area here. You would go and you would find the folder where the files were stored, and then you would be able to import it just from this rack here and then drag it in, because you can get audio samples from here too, like samples and stuff like that. Good. We'll get into that if you need to. Keeping with it, so we've got the guitar drumless track imported here now. I've lined it up right at the very beginning. And one thing that's really cool about Live is that when you import audio tracks to it, it has a feature called warping. And what that means is that it will actually warp your audio to whatever BPM your set is currently set at. Now, that's not going to be super good for us to be working with, which is why I'm suggesting that you do it this way, and you set the BPM first, then you import the track, and then you're going to see something neat. So when we've got this highlighted, you might not see anything down here. It might say drop audio effects right here. We don't need to add any effects to this, but just below that, you'll see this little waveform in this bottom part. Click that, and now we can see the settings that we've got for the sample. So I'll go over a couple of these real quickly. We've got our time signature that's set for that particular clip. We've got, if you wanted to transpose it, make it higher or lower or something like that, you can do that. That sounds like this. Right, like that kind of a thing. So we won't be using any of that. And then you've got what the segmented BPM is. So this is what the track's BPM was that's built into it. So it's actually 137.05. I really don't know why I had such a strange BPM for that song, but regardless, that's what it is. Beats is set to, if you were going to warp it, so I am actually warping it right now. It comes in default with the warp button enabled, and I would keep that here just in case we have these little things like the 0.05. That would mess it up. If we turn the warp off, now it's not locked to these keys. So a really neat thing to look at is, see how I've imported this, and you'll notice how these waveforms, like where the actual downstrokes are hitting, are pretty much lined up right on that downbeat. That's when that next bar starts. So if you want to scroll in and out or zoom in and out, you just put your magnifying glass, it turns into it right there. It will be a play button at that point, and you can play from any point. But up here, this will be able to shrink it. So if we go like that, we can see the full track and we can zoom in. But the warp feature is really neat because it will actually lock it and make sure that it takes that 137.05, and we've got it locked right in there. So essentially, set your BPM there, drag the track in, and it should make it perfect. That's really all that you need to know about that. The only other thing that we might change here is where it says beats. You can change this to complex or complex pro. It just does a better job at making sure that everything is lined up. All right, so now that that track is imported, essentially what your workflow would most likely look like, this at the top, this is a looping feature. So this little area there, you can highlight that, and that's what it's going to loop. And so one idea for you that might be very cool is to take this and just loop the whole track, just so that you can hit play and it will just continue to play and you can continue to record over top. So you'd set that just like there, and then this button up in the center, that's your looping button. So if you press that, now when it gets to the end, it'll just start again. See? So there it is. Now it just started again. It would continue looping. Now, about that, when you're recording over top of it, I would suggest that that's a good way of doing it when you are, you know, practicing, getting a feel for it. You're like, okay, that's great. You can hit record while you're doing it. Now, I haven't had a lot of experience doing it in this timeline format for doing like the recording and overdubbing and that kind of a thing. So I'd have to check on that just to see how the files, like when it got to the end, if it's going to rewrite over top of what you just did, and then, you know, maybe it would have the final version, or if it actually stores all of the things that are going along. So I just would have to check on that. But another way that you could do this, and I'll show you the cool feature of Session View, is, so let's hit Tab on our keyboard, and we're going to go back. And or we're going to go Tab one more time, actually, and we're going to grab this audio file, and we're going to go Command X, Control X to cut, and then go back over to Session View, and then paste it just into one of these things. Now, why would we do this? Well, what this does is imagine that this now is just like a clip playing that track. It's got that same track in there, and when I hit the play button, it's just going to play it. And we can set these so that it will loop. So we can set a continuous loop on this track so that it will continue going. I believe that this is the L button down here is the launch mode. So right now I've got launch mode set to trigger, but I can go to toggle and repeat. So if I go repeat, this should theoretically have it repeat the entire time. Not quite. Okay, that's not actually quite it. I will record you another video for the looping part, or just show you the feature. But the idea is that once you have that playing and it's looping every time, you can then go and record. You can hit boom, right? You would have all 8 of your. Let me turn that off. So once you've hit that, you would have all 8 of your other mics going, and you would go record, record, record. Like if these were turned on, you'd have to make sure that these were set to something. And then if you had that lived, then you would go record, and then you would do that on all of the different mics that you have. And what that'll give you is the ability to sort of have different takes, which is how I typically work with Ableton when I'm making guitar. I have one drum track going, and then I'll just record a whole bunch of different takes going down like that, and then they're each different takes that go along with that one drum track. That might be a bit of a more complicated workflow for you being on the drum kit. It's easy for me on the guitar because I'm sitting in front of the computer, but I figured I'd show you that just in case that might be another option for you. Anyways, I hope this video was informative and helpful. Let me know if you have any specific questions. Maybe make a list of them, and I can do another video that would be on those. Awesome. Looking forward to seeing what you can create.